Today we will talk about for loop. In Java, it is also a looping structure. It executes statement repeatedly, but in the last video we saw about while loop. So while loop executes the statements as long as the condition remains true. So it is a condition-based loop. So suppose you want to add numbers. You want to add numbers from 1 to 100, or let's say that the amount of numbers is not known. You want to add numbers and you want to keep adding them until your sum gets to a certain value. Let's suppose 1,000. So in that case, our loop depends us on the value of sum. That in while loop we will use the condition that while sum equals 1,000, keep executing. Sorry, while sum isn't equal to 1,000, keep executing. So that's how while loop works. It works on the basis of conditions. So it will keep executing as long as sum isn't 1,000. As soon as sum gets to the value of 1,000, it will break. It will exit. So it will stop executing. So that's how while loop works. But for loop is useful when the number of iterations is known. When you know that I want to execute my statements n number of times, when you are already familiar with the outcome, when you already know that how many times you want to execute a statement or set of statements. Suppose you want to print numbers from 1 to 10, you already know that your loop will execute 10 times, your statement will execute 10 times. So in that case, you use for loop. So let's look at the for loop. So first you have to use the keyword for, then you have to use parentheses, then you have to pass three arguments or parameters into it. First argument is the initialization part. So you have to initialize one or more variables, which will be your counters, counter variable, which will whose values you will be incremented or decremented. So these are basically the counter variables which control the execution of loop. So I will use variable int I. So I have initialized it to 0. So next I'm gonna add the condition. So first part is the initialization part. You have initialized a value to I. Then you have to add the condition part. So my condition is that I is less than equal to 5. So now this loop will be executed 5 times. 0 time, then first time, then second, then third, and then fourth. We are counting from 0. That's why I have added less than 5. If I start from I is equal to 1, then I have to add the equal sign to execute it 5 times. So that's also you need to remember. So if we count from 0, we are one value less than the final value. So, and the third part is the increment part. So now this is the increment part. So remember, you can add multiple variables, like you can add int j is equal to 4 or 7 or any value you want, or you can add k. You can add as many variables as you want. So, and you can give it any value. So I have incremented it uh, by 1. I can also increment it by any value like 2 or 3 or 4. Any value works. So, but for now I need to increment it by 1. So after each uh, execution of a statement, it will be incremented by 1. Then I have to write my statement that let's write the same statement we used previously, that my name is John. So now it will be executed. So similarly, if you have one statement, you can add, you don't have to put curly brackets. If you have more than one, then you have to put these curly braces to cover the whole body. Now all the statement inside these curly braces will be the body of the loop. So let's run it. So as you can see, it is displaying the name 5 times. So this is the initialization part. Then first it initializes, then it checks the condition, and if it is true, it executes this statement. Then it again, then it comes to the top and it increments the value, and then again it checks the uh, condition and it will execute. So this initialization part is executed only once, and then condition and increment are done after uh, each execution. So after executing each statement, uh, the increment will happen and then condition will be checked. You can add multiple statements here. They will be all be executed 5 times. Similarly, you can add multiple increments or decrement here. You can add j plus plus if you have a j variable here, or you can add j minus minus. Also, you can declare your variables, other variable outside, and use them in here. So that also works. So let's print numbers from 1 to 10. So I will start by 1. So I have to run it 10 times. So I will start it with 1, or you start with 0 and you go up to 10. Then it will print from 0 to 9. And but we don't want that. We want 1 to 10, so I'm going to use this syntax, 1 to 10. Then you have to simply print the value of I, because we already know that our I goes from 1 to 10. So let's run our program. So as you can see, the whole counting is getting printed here: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So as you can see, after each iteration, the value of I is incremented. Suppose you want to print from I 10 to 1, the reverse counting. You have to change the condition. You start from 10, then you change this to greater than equal to 1. The condition will be reversed as well. Then you change the increment part to decrement part. So now let's run it. As you can see there, now the reverse counting is getting printed. So the value after each execution of the statement or more statement, this value will be incremented or decremented. Then the condition will be checked and the loop will keep going as long as this condition is true. As soon as this condition gets false, the loop will exit, similar to while loop. So remember, you can add multiple statements here. And that's it for today's videos. Thank you for watching.